Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tell Your Story. I'm Todd Neslony, and each episode I look to bring you a different guest who has encouraged, inspired, or challenged me in one way or another and bring them on to share some of their story in hopes that it inspires you to tell some of yours. I am so excited today to have my guest, Rosie Kuhar, on with me. Rosie, tell everybody kind of who you are.
My name is Rosie Kuhar. Thank you, Todd, for having me. I am a mom of two. I have one that's going to be, he's actually graduating in 2 weeks. I have a daughter that's going to be a sophomore, and I've been teaching for about 8 years in multiple grade levels.
Well, Rosie, I am so excited to talk today. So the first question I always like to start with is way back at the beginning. And so when you were growing up, what did you want to be when you grew up, and was teacher even on the list?
Oh, absolutely. I knew from the time I was really little that I wanted to be a teacher. I would literally line up my dolls or animals and have them all out, and I would get this long stick that I would find, and I'd walk around in my dad's shoes and just kind of point and teach my animals. I did that for the longest time when I was little, and then when I turned 16, I actually started teaching twirling, baton twirling, and so I taught about 8 to 10 kids. And then when I just kept doing teaching stuff like my whole time, my mom was a teacher, my aunt's a teacher, just it's kind of in my blood. So
And so, when you realized that teaching was in your blood, that it was for you, were you immediately drawn to elementary or secondary, or were you just like, I don't even care, I just want to work with kids?
well, actually, in my mind, I was like, I'm going to teach, but I'm only going to teach kindergarten or first grade. Like, there's absolutely no way I can deal with any of the bigger kids. It's just not what I can do. I'm a kindergarten, first grade teacher. I really, truly thought that for the longest time, and then I actually started teaching, and I started in first grade, and I did that for 2 years. I went to kinder for 2 years, and then I went back to first grade. And I was like, this is really cool. And then my principal came to me and she said, I think you should try third grade. And it scared the daylights out of me because I was like, that's a star grade. I don't think I can do that. And she said, yes, you can. You can do this. You got this. And so I went to third grade for a couple of years. And then this past year I did fifth grade. So it's just been like, I was very set in like kinder first. And then all of a sudden it just was like, okay, I can do this. What's the next challenge? What's coming next?
And so, when you decided that, I mean, not decided, when you became a teacher and got to get in there in the classroom stuff, what was something that you really learned about yourself?
That I don't have to do things the same way every time. I learned that especially when I had switch classes, when I was blocked, because I would teach something one way in one class, and then when the next class would come in, they learned completely a different way. And so I had to learn to change what I was doing. Like it was still the same material, but I was delivering it in a different way, and that was pretty interesting because in my mind, I thought you have to teach everything a certain way, and it's like here's the script and you have to do it like this. And then once I saw these, what can I do to make this better for them? And so when that happened, I was like, okay, so one class was like, I had to slow down. With the other classes I had to do way more like extreme, like challenging things. So it was pretty interesting learning that the different ways of teaching, like I can teach the same material in multiple different ways.
I love that you say that because, that's something that so many of us learn when we just begin teaching is that we can do it different ways and it's okay. Because I think we all have this mindset of when we're in there teaching the way we are, that it just has to be the same way all the time. And so, speaking of doing things different ways, obviously this year you really learned how to do things different ways with COVID hitting. And so how did that really, how did that affect you personally, like your own emotions and dealing with, not getting to have an end of the year with your students?
Well, it was actually pretty interesting. We went straight to online learning, and my team this year was amazing. Like we really just kind of like we gelled very well. We would get together once a week and say, okay, what can we do? And our team leader was like, hey, I miss the kids. I need that interaction. So we actually started Prize Patrol, and what we did was we would go every week. We would draw about 6 to 8 names for the kids, and we would draw their names and we would go to their houses and deliver like candy or chips or just something and show up to their house, and we would come in a little car parade and honking, and the kids would come out, and the parents were so excited, and we did it every week. And So by the time we finished, we hit all 75 kids of going to
Wow.
every kid's house and delivering them something. And it was always like, great job, you did your work. And it actually inspired the kids to stay involved online and to do their work with us. And we, you know, we were on there doing lives and teaching with them. And the way my team did it was we opened it up to all of the kids. So instead of just having our 75 from our block, we actually opened it up to all 150 kids. And so either side of the block could join any of our things that we did. And it was really awesome. So we, you know, we just worked together as a team. Our whole team just really took on this challenge and said, we're not going to let this get us down. We're going to handle this.
You know, I love that you share that because I think that's so important that, you know, the visiting of them and just bringing a little snack or a little treat had nothing to do with the academics. But during these unprecedented times, that really just shows them that you were thinking about them, that you wanted to check in on them. And so, you know, when you look towards the fall and there's so much unexpected, how do you as an educator still kind of hold on to hope that things are going to be as normal as they can?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm really hoping that we're in the classroom, but I think it helped with us doing this virtual learning, understanding that we like actually for me to understand that I can do this virtual learning. I can still do it as like a teacher in the classroom because I felt like I was still in the classroom, but I'm really, really hoping that we go back because I need that face to face. I like being around the kids and getting to see them and talk with them and hear their stories and have lunch with them. Like that's one of the things that I really enjoy is like having that lunch bunch time where they just come in and just talk with me. So I'm hoping that we go back in the fall. I'm really hoping we do.
Yeah. Well, you know, Rosie, switching gears just a little bit, when you look back at your own life and the things that you've been through, the joys, the successes, the failures, the pain, and you kind of reflect over the different things that have happened in your life to create the Rosie we see today, what is something that you reflect on and say that was pretty instrumental into playing a part into who I am today?
So when I was in high school, I was probably a junior in high school, and I was trying to make sure all my credits were good because I was like, okay, I got to make sure I have all my credits. So my senior year, I know what I'm doing. And I had gone to my counselor and I said, hey, I need to know kind of what I need to do. Like, do I have all my classes? And my actual school counselor said, it doesn't matter what you do because you're just going to work in a factory anyways. And I was just like, wow. So I went home and I talked to my mom and I was like, she told me this. Like, what does that mean? Like, I'm going to go to college. She's telling me I'm not. Like, and so my mom and I, like, my mom's a very, my mom's the person that's like, okay, you got to stand up for yourself. Like, you got to be respectful no matter what, but you still got to stand up for yourself. You're not, that's not going to happen. So we went and had a conversation and got everything fixed. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong. Like, I am
Mhm.
gonna go to school and I'm gonna do this. Like I'm gonna be a teacher. I know I am. And I don't want any other kid to ever feel that way. Cause
Right.
when I heard that, I was just kind of like, are you kidding me? Like I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna be something. And so I actually went off to college and I actually graduated with honors. I was outstanding undergraduate for the university where I went to school. So I was like, okay, I got this. So I was just like, that kind of was like challenge accepted. Let's go.
Right. Well, you know, I love that there's those things sometimes in our life that push us and that really play a part into us taking the path we do. Because it's like, you know what? Tell me that. I'm going to prove you wrong. Like, I'm going to show you that I can. And so I love that. But, you know, on the flip side of that, too, something that I talk about in almost every Tell Your Story episode is also at the same time, as an adult, dealing with doubt, dealing with comparison. When you work in a building with so many educators, I know there's got to be times where you look at somebody else and say, gosh, they're so much better than me, or I wish I did stuff as cool as them, or even getting connected online. And so how do you personally keep doubt from taking root so that way you don't let that consume you?
For me, it's more of like relationships and like when I see something, like there's a teacher that I'll see and I'm like, wow, they are just doing amazing at that. How do they do that? So I actually go to them and I'm like, teach me, show me, like, what do you do? What resources do you have? Like, how do you explain this to where the kids get it? So I'm always wanting to learn. I'm always wanting to know more. I read a lot of blogs. I'm not a TV person, so I'm following blogs. I'm following like Instagram stories, just learning as much as I possibly can. But if there's something that someone's doing in the building that I'm just like, that's amazing, I go directly to them and I'm like, okay, tell me what it is. Show me what you did, or can you just teach me your ways? So I have no hesitation of asking. Like I'm not afraid to ask for help.
I think that that is something really powerful that I hope people heard is that, rather than letting that comparison get in the way or that doubt get in the way, why not take advantage of what that person is doing so well and go and ask them to teach you? I love that so much. So I'm really glad that you said that. Well, Rosie, when you reflect on the people who've been really instrumental in your life, also, who's somebody that comes to mind?
It would be my principal, Amber Barbaro. She's the one that told me like you can go to third grade, you can try this, and just her like helping me grow, I guess, as a teacher. Because for me, it's like I was very set in the mindset of I'm kinder and first. I don't do the upper grades. Like I work with only the littles, and she actually was like you can do this. And then when I moved up, she's just so encouraging, and she was just one of those people that just she teaches you like to grow, like she helps you grow, and then she like why don't you try this and why don't you try that, and just she's just one of those people, like she's just an amazing administrator that like helps people grow. It she doesn't keep you set in a like you're not set in this mindset, you can grow, you can do this. And I think that's just very powerful as a leader. Like I think one day, not anytime soon, but one day I'm probably going to go towards leadership role, and that's one of those people I want to be like her.
That's so powerful that you share that because, I agree with you. I think that's a great quality of a leader when they can empower their people to feel like they can do great things because everybody can. And you need a leader in there who believes in you and reminds you of that and pushes you. And so, on that same thought, what is something that you are working on right now and growing or learning about?
Right now, I'm actually working on my master's for curriculum instruction. I love curriculum. I like to read curriculum. I like to write curriculum. I'm hoping to one day be a curriculum writer for our district and possibly for the state. Like I really like curriculum. I like to learn new things. I like the fact that I've learned different grade levels. Like this year I was fifth. Next year I'm going to be second grade. So it's a new grade level. So I'm like, okay, I'm learning new teaks, learning new everything. So it's just I think for me it's like I've learned to accept change and move and learn new things, and so I'm not stuck in that like I'm only doing this. Like I learn new teaks every year because I'm moving so much and I'm learning so much.
I love that instant love of yours. I could see you light up when you started talking about curriculum because there's people that is just a love of theirs and learning it and writing it and doing it. I had a teacher that was the same way on my team. And so when you think about curriculum, is there a subject that kind of draws your attention more than another?
I actually do ELA, but writing. I love writing. It's weird because when I was in school, I didn't like reading. I didn't like writing. I felt like I was a poor reader, and now it's like I love. If I could teach writing all day long, man, I absolutely would. I love writing, and it's really interesting because I think it's for me. It's like when I started teaching, and I was like, how do I teach this? I don't even like this subject, and then
Mm-hmm.
like as I've learned to teach it, like I've learned like if I'm modeling it and the kids are seeing it, then they're doing that. And so I've just found this huge love for writing, and I absolutely love it.
It's so funny you say that. So my question is going to be then: are you writing anything?
I'm not, but I one of my teammates, Mr. Scott, was like, "You got to write a book. Like you
There,
have so much information, you need to write a book."
There you go. Well, there's encouragement from two of us now then. And so, Rosie, you mentioned ELA too. Is there a book that you've read recently that you just really loved?
I'm actually doing the Inquiry Illuminated right now, and it's
Ah.
like it's a new book that just came out. I'm in the process of reading it, and it's about so we do a time like a 30-minute window where we're just tutoring the kids and stuff,
Mhm.
and so the rest of the kids are working on something. And one of our district people came to me and said, "Hey, this book, like right here, this is what other kids could do while you're doing your tutoring." And so I've been reading up on it. It's really interesting. it's basically we take one teak or one standard and we say, okay, this is what we're focused on. And the kids start doing research. And then in the end of a 6-week process, they actually come out with a project of what they learned from this one thing. And so it keeps them accountable for their learning while I'm doing my small group. So it's really, that's the book that I'm doing right now, is the Inquiry Eliminated.
Inquiring Eliminated?
It's like, I don't even know where it's, hold on, I have it.
I always love learning about new books, so I haven't heard of that one. Oh, Illuminated. Okay, Inquiring Illuminated. Oh, nice. I will definitely have to check that one out. I haven't heard of that, so thank you for recommending that. Well, Rosie, one question that I always love to end all of these conversations on is I believe there are, as people, we hold things true to who we are and the foundation of what we do. And so for the people listening or watching today, if they were to walk away with one thing, what would your one thing be for them?
So when I was in high school, my principal, Mr. Kathy, would always say, always remember who you are and where you're from. And in high school, I thought that was kind of a weird thing, like, remember who you are and where you're from. I'm from here. And so as I grew up, I was like, okay, I go back to my roots a lot. And it's like, oh, remember who you are and where you're from. Because where I'm from and who I am is because of where I'm from and all of the stuff that I've learned along the way. And so that, absolutely, I tell my kids that all the time now. I'm like, okay, Mr. Kathy says, remember who you are and where you're from. And so that's one thing that I would absolutely tell people, just remember who you are and where you're from.
I love that. And that is the perfect way to end this conversation. Well, Rosie, I was so excited when you agreed to come on tell your story. So thank you for coming and spending a few minutes with me today.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for listening or watching another episode of Tell Your Story. Remember, you can check out past episodes on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, wherever you get your stuff, it's there. I hope today's conversation with Rosie has encouraged you to get out there and tell your story, because every story matters.